Welcome back to Grow Joyfully. I am home. I'm so excited. It was a wonderful trip, but a driving trip like that is quite difficult in many ways. Hard on the body, but here we are. I'm home. So many changes. My husband and my son worked so hard on this yard and kept it looking absolutely beautiful. So many more things are now blooming and out and just totally gorgeous. So I'm very grateful to be home. It was a great trip, like I said. I was glad to be there on my 65th birthday to celebrate, and now I'm home and back in the garden. Let's go. This beautiful clematis has bloomed and it just looks so great. Now that I'm home, I've got to get out here and deadhead this beautiful rose. It is so pokey with thorns, but it is the best smelling thing you've ever seen or smelled. It looks like we might even have some hydrangea flowers on this. I have really struck out at growing hydrangeas, but my husband's been working on it, and I think we're going to have some this year. I'm so excited. Here's a wild rose that's left over from this rose that was here. Definitely needs to be trimmed down, tied up, and treated for powdery mildew. Things look so nice. Look at that beautiful rose. And I am back to my greenhouse. My sun gold cherry fainted from just last night. Time to get a bigger stake and prop it up, but I'm going to transplant it out. So I better get it outside to harden it off. Okay, I've got her tied up. She's got to be about 6 feet tall. So now I'm going to take her out in the main garden and let her get some more sun today and gradually harden her off so she can be planted out in the main garden on the cattle panel that we have ready. Plants need to be hardened off not only for cold, but also for heat, because they can get scalded, sun scald. They usually bounce back, so give them some time if they look like they're dead. Give them some time to get over the transplant shock and start growing some more green. Things are looking a lot better in the main garden. I just trimmed back this edge of the grapes because, as you can see, they're growing very well. We have limited space here in this garden, so I want to keep them trimmed back so I can walk back and forth. The pathways are really not that wide, but they're sufficient. So I've got a lot to do today. I think I'm going to plant some tomatoes before it gets too hot. And I really need to harvest the chamomile, so maybe I'll do that first. How was that for a chamomile harvest? And I also got a little bit of parsley that was going to seed. I love its green, fresh, peppery scent, but the smell of the green apple in the chamomile is amazing. I have the chamomile and the parsley harvested. Time to go into the greenhouse and see how everything is. My husband and son have been taking good care of everything. But with those two full-grown men working on here for 9 days, there were still things that got away from them. So we need to mow and weed eat this garden again. My husband is trying so hard to keep this area weed-free, and that takes a lot of energy and time. It's 10:30, kind of late to be getting out here to plant, but luckily these 3 cattle panels are still in the shade. I have a fan, I have a hat, I have water, and I have to get going because it does get very hot here. The last few days it's been fairly decent temperatures. I guess Monday's supposed to be up to 100. Yeah, it can get hot here, but this is still only June, so I'm hoping to get these tomato plants planted out in the 3 cattle panels. Now each one holds 10 tomatoes, and I only have 12 here, but that's all I'm going to bite off for today. I need to be realistic and, safeguard my health. So that is what I'm going to tackle right now. Planted potatoes here last year, and we have a couple of volunteer potatoes, so I'm just going to let them grow to see what we can get. These are the tomatoes that we planted before we took off on our vacation. Some of them have died and some of them are doing okay. We're trying to put in weed fabric, heavy weed fabric, because the weeds are so relentless out here. As you can see, they're just awful. So this is a black crim and it's looking good. So excited. And this one is a pineapple. It's looking better. Around here, uh-oh, your tag's gone. Where are you? Well, I have it in my notebook, so I can tell what it is. That's why I write it down in a couple places. So my daughter and I got 11 more tomatoes planted on the 5th cattle panel. What we're doing now over here is covering up the rows because the weeds are just relentless. So this one is, let's see, this is the 4th one. The one behind me is 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So we have approximately 52 tomatoes in. I take that back. 4 of them had died and I replaced one, and my daughter's going back to get 3 more. She's taking the tags so we can keep track of which ones have died and try to replace them if we can, if I have them, with the ones that died. So I am right now tying these tomatoes up so they're stronger and sturdier and they won't bend over and break. Some of them have really grown beautiful and green. This black crim is looking pretty good. It's got some sun scald here, but the new growth is looking very nice. And here's some blossoms, so that's a good sign. I'm going to go down here and clean off all this growth. Try very hard to keep any of the growth from about here where the cattle panel is down. So that's, you know, kind of 18 inches give or take. And that is that's the new one I replaced, a big rainbow. I don't know what was in there before because we couldn't find the tag, so I'll have to consult my notes. Another good reason to take notes in the garden. So when you say, what did I plant there? You get your notes, take a look at it, and then you can tell. So I try to put extra notes on, like this is on the north side of the cattle panel and this is the east side of the cattle panel. So I will put northeast for these, where I started back there. These are all north, and then that one over there is west. So the more information you give in your notes, obviously, the more helpful it will be. We are fighting weeds like nobody's business. My husband has worked after a full day of work out here for the last 9 days that I've been gone. I think for the tomatoes we are just gonna do weed fabric. I don't have the energy to fight it, because if you look over there, my husband worked very hard putting down bark mulch, because they say if you put down like 4 to 6 inches of bark mulch, it will choke out the weeds. Well, my friends, it doesn't. I don't know how they did it, how it works for them. But because the water hits everything, it hits the weeds as well, and the weeds are very, very healthy. We will put weed fabric down, nice thick weed fabric. And in between potatoes, over there and over there, my husband has been using a hoe and hilling them, and either going through with the hoe and weeding them, or using our little rototiller right here. So, you know, we've got 5 adults working on this, not full time, because my husband works, my daughter works part-time, but the other 3 of us, we work pretty much full-time on this. My son works for my husband, so he goes out and works on some of his building sites and keeps them tidy and nice looking. but I would say, 70% of the time or more, he's working here trying to help us keep this going. So it's so wonderful that they're living with us this year. I shudder to think what it'll be like when they're not, because my husband and I are finding that it's only 2 acres, but man, it is taking a village to take care of it. So my brother that lives up in the mountains, he's got a lot of area under cultivation, maybe not as much as this, but he has one garden that is dedicated mainly to most of his crops except for his potatoes and sunflowers. And he has very, very high fence, maybe like 8 feet, to keep the deer out. So you have to work with nature, not against it, by putting up 8-foot fences if you need to keep the deer out, using really thick weed fabric. And when the season is over, you got to pull up the stakes, pull up the weed fabric, or leave it during the winter time. That's what I'm going to do. And then when spring comes, pull it up, rototill it, and amend it, and on we go. We just fight nature on our earth here. And it's going to cover itself up because the earth is very modest. And if you don't cover it with plants, bushes, trees, weed screen, it will cover itself up with weeds and native plants, whatever grows here. And that really does serve the earth well, serves us well by keeping the ground from eroding and the soil from washing away and blowing away. So, God knows what he's doing. My daughter and I got some more tomatoes planted. This is our 5th row, and she went and got some more plants, 3 or 4 of them, to replace the ones that had died. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's really hot. Thanks for stopping by today. We'll see you on the next video.